Welcome to the FNO InsureTech Podcast, your home for all things InsureTech. Here are your hosts, Lee Boyd, Rob Beller, and David Prejeant.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the FNO InsureTech Podcast, your home for all things InsureTech, all things news, all things pop culture, all things everything. We're here. And today you're here with me, Lee Boyd, and David Prejeant, who is joining us on the podcast. David, welcome today. Welcome.
Thanks, Lee. I'm really excited to host with you today. I'm excited about this new adventure.
Yeah.
Rob and I have done one or two of these, and exciting to get to host with you.
It's an exciting time. That is the most important thing, that me and you are together. We get to chit chat. We get to have fun. We get to learn about new things. I'm excited. I am sorry to the audience who joined us, the two of you who joined us, who were looking for Rob. Rob is not here today, but he does send his well wishes. I know that you 1 to 2 people are disappointed, and feel free to write the FNO InsureTech email address to let us know that, and Rob will most certainly write you a personal note back apologizing. But David and I have been lucky enough to actually get to do a little traveling together. So this is not our first interaction in the past week or two. We took a trip up to Boston. We got to look out at the seaport. We've had a little bit of fun in our travels, haven't we?
We did. Boston is beautiful. I am a fan of Boston. I bought a Boston hat, a Boston Red Sox hat while I was there. I'm originally from the South, the deep South, South Louisiana, and we don't do baseball down there in South Louisiana. It's just too hot. It's just too hot for baseball down here.
Yeah.
I don't have to feel like I've betrayed a hometown team.
Okay.
When it comes to MLB, I get to do whatever I want. I can wear Boston hats. I can buy a Dodgers cap if I want to. I am not tethered to any Major League Baseball team. I'm going to own that and be a fan of all Major League Baseball.
Well, look at you. Look at you. I owned a Boston Red Sox hat the first time my dad went to Boston, 30 years ago. He brought me back a Boston Red Sox hat, and I think I wore that thing for 20 years. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
It's an iconic hat.
It's an iconic hat. You would go anywhere and you could start a conversation with somebody, either who hated you or loved you. But one way, you're going to get a conversation.
That's exactly right. We got to do some fun stuff. I threw some tea in the harbor.
Threw a little tea in the harbor.
Hand you some tea when you get off the plane, and they go, make sure you throw this in the harbor.
Throw it in the harbor. Can't be taxed.
Exactly. So we're able to enjoy the city for a couple of minutes, but also get some work done.
Get a little work done. That's what you got to do, right? You got to have a little fun, but you got to get some work done. And that's what we're doing today. We're going to do our other job. We're going to put on our podcast hat, and we're going to have a great conversation. Today we have Wayne Slavin. Wayne is the CEO and co-founder of Sure. David, what are we going to talk to Wayne about today?
We're going to talk to Wayne about his company, Sure. He's going to tell us about how he got to where he is today. He's not a born and bred insurance guy.
Yeah.
He's got an interesting past, an interesting path that brought him to the insurance industry, and a really interesting take on how he's looking at solving problems related to the insurance industry via InsureTech. So Wayne is a super interesting guy. We probably could have talked to him for longer than we did. He had tons of interesting things to say and lots of interesting stories and just a full background that have landed him and his company Sure where they are today.
Yeah, Wayne is a delight to talk to, and I'll give a little tidbit here. He's not new to the world of AI. He has a story that'll tell us it dates back 16 years ago that uses buzzwords in the AI space that we're using today. He's that far ahead. It's a great conversation. We're going to have a really good time here. So everyone sit back, buckle up, get ready for this. We are here. Here is our podcast with Wayne Slavin, CEO and co-founder of Sure. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. We're excited to have today, we have Wayne Slavin, CEO and co-founder of Sure. He is on with us. Wayne, thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me on. Happy to be here.
Thank you. You're here with David. David, thanks for joining and helping to lead this podcast today. We are excited to have all three of us here and learn all about Sure, learn all about you. You have an interesting story. We're excited to hear about that, but welcome. So Wayne, tell us, where are you today?
I'm based in Dallas, Texas.
Oh, okay. Is that the home of Sure, or is this home for you?
It is both the home of Sure and my home after we relocated here from the West Coast in late 2020.
Late 2020, I assume associated with COVID. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. The original spiritual home of Sure was Santa Monica, which was at the time being called Silicon Beach instead of Silicon Valley. But unfortunately, a lot of things changed during COVID.
A lot of things changed. We want to introduce you and introduce your company to our audience. And so why don't you just take a moment and just tell us today, what is Sure? I want to hear about where it started and where it went to, but today, how do you describe your company?
Yeah, really simply, actually. We help the world's biggest carriers and the world's biggest brands build the world's biggest insurance companies. That's it. And we do that by creating a one-of-a-kind technology platform that is fully AI-enabled to run an end-to-end digital insurance program. It's like, sounds so simple. We're putting insurance on the internet, which sounds like it should have been happening since 1995. But if any of us consumers are truly honest about going online to shop, of the hundreds and hundreds of carriers and options to buy insurance, not all of them can be bought the same way you reorder your toilet paper and your groceries from Amazon. There's usually a person involved at some step in the process, especially as you get more and more complex. And so what we've done is really taken a bottoms-up approach to grow insurance distribution by making it fully digital. And what we're best known for is doing it with the world's biggest consumer brands. So we've helped some of the biggest brands in automotive, folks like Toyota, biggest brands in homeowners ecosystem, folks like Zillow, and in financial services, folks like Mastercard, launch their own insurance program online. And so that is what we're best known for, kind of have our own category of how we do it, what we do it with. But the core of it is, I'm an engineer by background. Our team's specialty is engineering and software development. And we've just built a unique platform that has the biggest brands choosing us to help them go build billion-dollar businesses.
It's amazing. So is it more of a technology play, or is there ownership of programs like an MGA type build as well? What is that?
Yeah, great question. We are an agnostic platform to, who's doing the, let's call it underwriting, which can get confusing because in our world, underwriting means something different than in, I think, a lot of other situations. In our world, you can bring any balance sheet, anybody can be the ones defining the rates. If they want the business from one of our distribution partners, we're happy to work with them. And in fact, many of our partners can also, if they have the capability, bring their own balance sheet and underwriting, and we will just run it. So really think of us as, I guess the best way to describe it, it's kind of like what Visa is to credit card transactions. They're the network. They don't own the customer, and they're not the bank, and they're not the merchant, but they are connecting those, but in a very different way than I think the market is used to. The market is used to this concept of aggregators and comparisons and things like rate call 1 and rate call 2. We have taken a different approach, which is that all of the underwriting is hosted on Sure. It does not rely on the carrier, even if they are the underwriter. And I know we're on a podcast, but I'm making air quotes here.
Air quotes, yes.
The underwriting algorithm rates are all running on Sure. And so you do not need another piece of software or vendor or partner, as we would like to be called, to stand up a program. We have stood up programs with partners where they had 2 people working on it. We did the rest. And you compare and contrast that to if you were to go try DIY it, so to speak, you'd be at 16, 20 vendors you're trying to stitch together. You just need one.
Just need one. And it's the whole ecosystem, right? It's not just underwriting. You do all parts of the insurance on there. Is that right?
That's right. So yeah, we've all grown up, for me, for the past decade plus, I know for many others, a lot longer, grown up in this world of, point solutions for different pieces, right? You've got an AMS that does one thing, and you've got a customer service portal that does another thing, and a policy system that does another thing, and a payment system that does another thing, and a website that's not connected to any of those things. And, it's all spaghetti together. And my background in technology has always been in delivering a end-to-end ecosystem that ends up creating a lot more value, but also speed to market, that you're not ending up in a situation where everybody's pointing fingers at everybody else for why it's off schedule and not working and not delivered on time. And you got to bring in, consultants and contractors and, all these folks to make things barely work. We just said, if we just did the top to bottom solution, we have nobody to blame. It just has to work.
It's all yours. It just has to blame. Yeah, it just has to.
Yeah.
And so if I understand right, where you are today is not where you originally set out. There were some pivots along the way. Can you tell our audience kind of where you started? And I think it might even be great with your idea that came to you, your origin story. I understand it might have occurred on an airplane. Maybe if you could tell us kind of where this idea came from, where have you been, and the journey that got you to where you are now.
Yeah. Before getting into insurance, was running technology product for a venture-backed software business in San Francisco, where we were in the payment space and e-commerce space. And our specialty that worked really, really well was all about consumers wanting to purchase things at the right moment in time with the right context. So could your shopping be aware of your context? So for example, if you're shopping for lunch, let's just use food as the best example. It's noon, you open the app. Should we be showing you breakfast orders? Should we be showing you, dessert? Or should we be showing you lunch options? And it turned out that if you got real intelligent and targeted with what the context of the consumer was, you could drive unbelievable conversion and results. And so we were specifically, prior to Sure, in this business called Topingo, that was later bought by Grubhub. But along the way, we were named TechCrunch's most innovative company of 2013, ahead of Amazon, ahead of Snapchat, ahead of Tesla, ahead of everybody, because we had really perfected the art of getting the consumer the thing they wanted right in front of them at that moment, at that right moment of decision, and really taking over an ecosystem. And so we did that on college campuses for folks who wanted to order food, who had limited time to think about it, and wanted to make a complex transaction really simple. Obviously, today, a decade later, food ordering and food pickup is basically a solved problem. But back then, it was not.
It was not.
It was not. There's a lot of complexity, right? Every restaurant didn't have an iPad that you could connect to, right? You were still using manual cash registers. There was no Apple Pay. None of that stuff existed. The ecosystem hadn't, to use your word, it hadn't been developed yet, right? We were still very much analog to digital happening. And those shifts are exciting to me, given my background. And so we really perfected that. And you're right. I was on a flight from San Francisco to Las Vegas, and there happened to be a lot of turbulence. And I knew nothing about insurance, but I knew turbulence, while scary, doesn't pose a whole lot of risk to everybody on the plane most of the time, right?
Most of the time. Most of the time.
And so, I looked around me during this turbulence and people were gripping the handrests, like white knuckled, gripping the handrest. And I said, wow, like this is one of the most safe places you could be statistically is on a plane. And I wonder if I could sell these folks who are now scared out of their wits. I wonder if I could sell them life insurance for 99 cents. That was the thought.
Whenever I heard that story, I guarantee he thought life insurance on the go. I guarantee that's what he thought. And I'm sure you absolutely could have.
Yeah. And so I asked 3 rows ahead of me, 3 rows behind me, hey, if you could buy life insurance after what we just went through, would you buy it? And how could you not buy insurance after what we just went through? And so I laughed about it because it's just could have been one of those funny experiences that you just say, yeah, well, that was, we all went through something that was kind of funny. We survived, but it turned out to be an inflection point and, somewhat life-changing because although I didn't know anything about insurance, that's what started my curiosity with it. Given the background in e-commerce and making complex transactions easy in the business I was currently in, I started to pursue, how could we do this actually in insurance? And although we no longer do an app direct to consumer, the core hypothesis is the same. And it's that we need to make insurance almost invisible, so easy that it is just a transaction that somebody does while they're doing something else, right? So you're getting on a plane, you should buy insurance. Amazing. We just are applying that in a different way to where the consumers are. So instead of trying to go get the consumer onto our app, we just cut that out and said, you know what, there are some big companies out there with millions, if not billions of consumers. We should just go help them build their insurance business because the consumer's already buying the car. They're already getting the mortgage. They're already banking. So if we can build the best platform to go help them, we don't have to do this thing that is not really our DNA, which is marketing and branding. Our DNA is product and tech.
You said instead of bringing the customer to me, let me go to where the customers already are and we'll meet them there.
That's right. And then we can help somebody else capture the insurance opportunity. Our belief is that the next 10 biggest insurance companies, call them Geico-sized insurance companies, will not be built by insurance companies. They will be built by consumer brands, B2B brands, because they want to own their ecosystem. And that's happening in all facets, right? You get your credit card from Apple. You get your credit card from Delta Airlines.
I just ordered another credit card. My son lost his, so I got another card from Apple today.
I'm sure they made it really easy.
One click button, boom, done. Here you go. Here's your new number.
And, the beauty of that is they don't have to be a bank. They're not the bank. They are just the entire experience that the consumer sees. And so we are doing that same level of, you can call it white labeling or embedding or whatever it is. We are the engine to do that level of complete integration, really, is what Apple achieved. They completely integrated banking and a credit card into iOS and into all the Apple products. We are helping our brands do that with insurance. There's no linking them out. There's no, sending them to an agent and then the agent's offering them, do you have an ATV? Do you want long-term care? And it is completely focused on the one transaction that our partner wants to achieve because they are selling that consumer something else.
I'm curious. We've touched on how you guys are getting into the insurance space and moving around in there. And we can't really get through an InsureTech podcast in 2026 without talking about how AI has affected your integration, your platform. I was reading that you guys are the first AI native insurance platform. What does that look like when you say, "Hey, we're AI native"? What does that mean for sure? And how has that sort of changed in the last couple of years, even that now we're in this AI world?
Yep. Well, I'd say it starts at the top. And so, 16 years ago, I did my graduate thesis on AI at Columbia. That was my research subject matter, was on human in the loop AI. And so
16 years ago, huh?
yeah, so
Which is like the ultimate buzzword.
yeah, I've been waiting for this moment in reality, almost in my dreams, right? So like this
Yeah.
was if we could do this thing, we could solve this massive problem, and maybe here's how you do it. And that, was all related to my earlier background in tech around cybersecurity. But as the capabilities have matured, I've just made a bunch of predictions that are not just things that are, marketing speak. We're actually doing them and implementing them, about how our team works. How is our team organized? How do we deploy it ourselves? How can we turn it into a product? And without, getting super controversial about what people say about, AI underwriting, which by the way, is a little bit of a thing that's getting people spun around the whatever that saying is, but spun around the thing is because underwriting, and we all know, is a deterministic process. It has to have the same result every time. And if any of us have played with ChatGPT or Claude or come back to the same prompt after 30 days or a model update and it says something completely different, we know that it's not deterministic. That being said, where I think AI has helped us a ton, and we've really implemented it, is in speed to market, massive gains in speed to market, of course, in software development, and deploying for our customers is AI assistance for claims, AI assistance for customer service. We talk to presidents of some of the biggest personal lines carriers in the country, and 50% of their call volume is to update a credit card. 50% of the calls are to change how I update my credit card.
Direct deposit, change the billing.
Insane. And so there's so much low hanging fruit on the customer side. And there's a fortune of efficiency and gain to be extracted in how people maintain programs and run programs. Because on the other side of what we do, you've got a history of failed IT projects at carriers. And whether they call them a failure or not, if it's 2 years or 10 years late, it's a failure, right? And there's lots of those that are way over budget. The only place, elsewhere in the world that you can be that late and that over budget and not get fired is in the government. Right. And so we've got this, tendency to think things in insurance take a really long time, takes a lot of people to maintain an insurance product. And with our partners that are adopting our model, we're proving that's not true. We're proving that with AI and agents, you can maintain some of the most complex products in insurance with a fraction of the people and resources that would go into maintaining 50 states, filings, documents, processes, rates, all of it. We're doing that in not 50% of the resources and time, 500%, savings, 5,000% savings, things going live in 4 days instead of 9 months.
Well, I was going to ask Wayne how I had a note here that he was often described as an InsureTech scientist. And I was going to ask him where that name came from, but he just explained it to me when he told me that he wrote a thesis 16 years ago about AI. That answered that question for me. So that's a really interesting that you've been in the AI game for a long time. We're we're all late to the party
Yeah.
as far as Wayne's concerned.
Yeah, and credit to the folks at the Frontier Labs for having some big breakthroughs and bringing it all to us. But yeah, I think that experience has given me the ability, I think, to just peer around the corner a little bit. And, I poke and prod friends in different industries and private equity and consulting and, HR businesses, recruiting businesses. And I say, what do you guys expect from your company or your portfolio companies? What sorts of gains do you expect? And some of them have said like 8% gains. I'm like, 8% gains. I mean, you should just raise your prices. It's easier, right? You should just, why bother?
Just raise it a percentage.
Yeah. Why bother doing anything hard for that sort of gain? And I'm looking at it and I'm saying, man, in our business, we're seeing magnitudes more improvement and opportunity from what we're doing. And we were already not a paper heavy, human capital heavy business. And so, it's fun to remind people that there's so much opportunity with, the capabilities we now have.
Absolutely. Well, I'm curious, we sort of live, and by we, I mean Lee and I, and you too, probably to a certain extent now, we live in this insurance kind of world, kind of bubble. And you mentioned that that's not where you originally came from. So I like to talk to folks about what their education in insurance, now I'm holding up air quotes, what their education in insurance looked like. What was that like for you to go, hey, I think I'm gonna do this insurance thing. How do you get up to speed on 100-year-old industry so that you can be where you need to be knowledge-wise to start putting your fingerprints on it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it honestly started with just pure curiosity, and I geek out over lots of different topics. Right, we were just before we started recording talking about rockets being made in Alabama, and I'm imagining not many people are aware that there's rockets being made in Alabama. But I'd say I'm curious about a lot of topics, and I approached insurance with a framework of, it's not like there's only one company that does it. Mm-hmm. It's not that there's one company that has figured out how to make the thing. And we know a few things are true. We know it's regulated, which means somewhere written down, there's rules. You can't make it up as you go. And there's hundreds of thousands of people that work in the industry. So if we figured out other things, not insurance, that are complex technology problems, I'm sure with enough reading and studying and learning and discussing and asking questions, we could start to learn. And that doesn't mean that we understood the end-to-end process, all the different mechanics that go into it. But, the final leg of the learning was, what is the product we could start with that's simple enough to apply what we want to apply to, that's not going to get us bogged down in, I think where a lot of startups get messed up is in underwriting and taking risk and thinking that they're going to do better underwriting than Travelers and Progressive and everybody who's been doing it for a long time.
Right.
And we just started with a really simple product, which was truly AD&D, in essence, the life insurance for a plain flight product.
Yeah.
Didn't have a lot of underwriting. It's just, are you eligible? Here's the price. Here you go. And we built off that foundation, which was, it's insurance. We are selling it. It can transact. And now what's the next product that's got a little more complexity, and what's got a little more complexity, to the point at which, we started launching auto products that were the most complex auto products in the market today. And we couldn't have done that on day one, but it was certainly a build of time.
So it has two questions. One, is the life insurance product still available?
Not directly through us, although we do run AD&D for short duration for two of the biggest carriers. One, the largest carrier in the world. The other, I think they're the fourth largest US life insurer. And they both run AD&D programs on our infrastructure and do very well with them. And, I have just a soft spot in my heart for AD&D, even though it's not a often purchased product or well understood product.
It makes sense. Well, two, I want to go back to where you talked about, the paradigm, the thoughts around AI. A lot of times we'll interview people and they'll say insurance is slow moving. They're slow to adapt. They're not interested in the new technologies. Have you found that people's thoughts on implementing AI and working with AI first companies has changed? Are people more eager, or is it still that unknown world that they're not quite ready to tap into? What's your thought? And mostly here I'm focused on insurance companies.
Yeah. No, I think it's a tale of two cities from my experience, which is there are insurance companies, when they come and speak to us, their first question is, what tools can we deploy that are AI enabled, that can make this better, faster, easier, more efficient? We can show results and deploy across the rest of our organization. And those are great to have conversations with, because it means that leadership truly understands what AI is, and they're not being driven by their data privacy team, their security team, their procurement team, their compliance team. They're really focused on their customer, because at the end of the day, they're either doing it to save money, go faster, or make a better experience. And ideally, they get all three from a great AI-enabled solution. And then the other side of that tale is folks we also deal with, where we will get a 90-question survey about how are we using AI, where the entire point of the questionnaire is to say you're not able to use AI, as opposed to let us understand how you are using AI so that we can learn, and we're going to partner with you to learn. And so we see both on a daily basis. And, I would argue that a lot of the insurance companies should either not be doing anything and just waiting, don't do anything, or have a very pointed thing that they want to go solve. Understood that like Microsoft gives Copilot away with an Office solution, but that's not really the AI we're talking about, helping you write emails and, send things through Teams. But if they're really looking for, change, modernization, efficiency, it's not going to come from a chief AI agent or, C-suite AI hire. It's got to come directly from the leadership of that business line, who understands the problems and is willing to drive change. Because the issue today that I don't think people are willing to face is that the tech is so good. It's like it already does what you need it to do. There's not a limitation to how imaginative you could be. The problem is change management in the organization and having the courage to change a process that likely that person didn't even create. They inherited it. Or are they going to change?
Yes. That is. So I've been actually this morning, I spent about an hour thinking about, it's not the technology, it's the people. It's not the technology that holds you back. It's the people. And it's not hold you back. It's just that maybe can't move forward or don't want to move forward or can't design something or don't want to design. It's really not the technology. What we hear is the technology can do. It's just change management and how difficult it is. And, I have two more questions for you. One, I want to ask, we've recently seen some news in the industry about major insurance companies who are doing more with less agents, either independent agents or staff agents. And back in 2016, that direct-to-consumer market really came out and they said, hey, we don't need insurance agents. We're going to sell this complex thing to homeowners, to auto owners, and it's going to work. And then we saw it kind of come back and that, well, there is a home for the agent and they're needed. And now my question is, do you think the technology is getting to a point where you can go more direct to consumer? According to you, it seems like that's the case. What is your thought on the technology and people's behavioral changes? Are people willing to buy more direct to consumer?
I think consumers have been lusting after a more easy, direct experience. And again, it comes down to change management and insurance company leadership to make that bet and go get the right solution for those customers, implement it, and then also make the organizational change that this is a real thing that is around for a different demographic, right? It's just a different channel for the same product. And there will be people who want to talk on the phone. There will be people who want full end-to-end, rearrange my life, multi-home, boat and umbrella and complexity. And they are going to need to have somebody help them and handhold them. And that's great. And those consumers today, I think the market has already kind of tried to solve for them. That's the high net worth insurers, right? And they do an awesome job of doing what they do, right? That is a perfect example of it. I think where consumers want to just be able to access their insurance, not talk to anybody, not get follow-up phone calls, not have a separate DocuSign arrive, not have to log into a different portal to set up their payment, sign, new things to do the automated payment, just make it like every other transaction in their life. That's all they're asking for. And yet there's so much friction that carriers insert for no reason. There is absolutely no reason for your billing date and your this thing and your that thing being different, and it's not all synchronized and it happens only at midnight. It's like that was true a decade ago for other services. But now, you're upgrading the speed of your home internet in real time. Like you don't even restart the modem at home if you're upgrading from 500 megabit to a gigabit.
Yes. I did that last night. That's exactly right. I did it last night right there. Yeah.
They take your money and you now have a gigabit. Like that should be how you change your deductible. And by the way, if it has an impact on your price, or if it has an impact on their risk, or if it changes some profile, we're not asking for convenience to mean they lose money. But you have to redesign around what consumers want. And, we look at some businesses like, the gyms like Equinox and 24-Hour Fitness and folks like that. And people online lose their mind because you can't cancel your gym membership unless you go into the gym. And people are freaking out because they're like, well, I moved to a different city. I don't even live there anymore. And they're like, well, we can't cancel you unless you show up in person. And it's like, that's not consumer friendly. And so the same should be true for insurance. If you've got 40 or 50 million consumers, I don't know how many State Farm has by now, I'm pretty sure you can figure out like how to predict what somebody's behavior is going to be. And you should be able to solve most of the problems for most of the consumers most of the time.
If you can predict what food they may want based on the time of day, their location, and buying habits, perhaps you can do that with insurance.
Amazon knows what vitamin to order. Yeah, they know it.
Exactly. Wayne, I do have one more question for you, and it's that you're originally from South Africa, and now you're living in Dallas, Texas. Give us just a little bit of what is that journey? How did that happen? How did you move and find your way over here?
Yeah, fortunately, I had pioneering parents that decided the best place to raise their children was not going to be in South Africa. They were clearly right about that, and the opportunities that would be present in the US. And, family and parents and siblings immigrated, moved to California, and spent my formative years there, and have obviously a fondness for South Africa and a unique, beautiful country and amazing place. And like, I'll call him my brother, but he's not my brother. Elon is like, the most successful African-American, South African in existence. Yeah. And, there's a good story there.
What great company, right? There's a great story, just like you, founders and inventors and creators, and the world needs designers, and that's what you are. And we're excited to see where you go. Very excited. For sure, is there a bright future? Is there an exciting future ahead for y'all?
Oh, yeah. We have never been more pumped for what is happening in our business, which is just the same, but at a bigger scale in terms of, what we talked about earlier. We started with the most simple thing we could control, built on from there, built on from there, built on from there. And now we've just done insurance programs at scale so many times that all we need to do is just continue to vertically integrate and make it so easy for some of our partners to come over, say, I want to launch an insurance business inside my mortgage company. I want to launch an insurance business inside my bank. I want to launch an insurance business for my automotive business, that they literally just have a turnkey solution by coming and working with us. That is just such an exciting proposition, because you have to have solved, as you both know, in insurance, you have to be great at so many things in order to do that. You have to be so buttoned up on so many topics in order to even begin to imagine that. And what I'm just so proud of the team's compounded effort is that we are now that good at all the pieces that we can actually go to a Fortune 10 company and say to them, hey, you want to offer insurance and launch an insurance business? You just need to work with us.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
That's awesome.
That's fantastic. Well, we love it. We think it's a great story. We're excited for you. We're going to keep an eye out there, and maybe in the next year or so, we'll get you back on. We'll hear about the new things you've done.
Very good.
We'll wrap up today. So we really appreciate you, Wayne. Thank you so much for...
Yeah, thank you both. I really enjoyed it.
What a great episode. I was reading the notes on this one, David, before it started. And I was like, this guy is like really interesting. He has this whole background, this whole future. And you know what? I would say that was one of the most interesting discussions. So I'm very glad Wayne was on.
Absolutely. I have like a list still here of things that I'm like super curious to ask him that I didn't even get a chance to talk with him about, because we were so entrenched in the InsureTech discussion. We didn't even get to touch on some of the cool stuff he's done in the past that now we just, maybe we'll have him back on. We got to have him back on.
There's too much interesting. We got to have a non-insurance related, say, come talk about your life. What did you do here? Where'd you go there? I think that'd be
Tell
great.
me this story. Absolutely.
Well, we really appreciate him being on. Really appreciate Shure for letting Wayne be on today. And to all of our listeners, thank you. To Israel, our producer, thank you so much for all that you do and helping us with our show notes and everything like that. And David, thank you for joining me. I'm loving having you on the podcast. It's a great thing.
Thank you, Lee. Always happy to be here. Happy to be filling in for the notorious.
Notorious. I was wondering what word you were going to use there. Yes, and to Rob, we missed you. You'll never listen this far into the podcast, but if you did, just know that we kind of missed you a little bit. And, just let us know whenever you actually hear this. Just give us a call and say, hey, I listened to it to the end. But with that, we'll say like we do each week with everybody. Goodbye, everybody.
The FNO InsureTech Podcast is produced by Alacrity Solutions. Thanks for listening.